Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to F1 Manager. It's episode 20. We have 11 days until the US Grand Prix. Okay, well, first things first. Last race, a little bit of a disaster, except for the fact that we beat three teams in the end. No points when I really thought we could, but that's because both drivers crashed in practice, and then both drivers crashed in the race. Fortunately, able to continue on each time, but destroying or damaging the chassis and destroying front wings. So we went through a lot of each to the point where we literally have zero chassis in excellent condition following that race weekend. We had four entering it, and we're late in the season, so we are trying to make parts, well, last. We don't want to create more than we need to. We don't want to manufacture more than we need to, as we are trying to keep it tight on the budget as best we can. Unfortunately, 11 days is not going to be enough to get what we need. It's going to take 5 days per chassis. So we're going to make 3 in emergency, costing a bit more, and then we will manufacture a few more to try to get through the rest of the season. And that's for rushed. So we're going to make 3 more rushed, but we'll have 2 of those ready before we enter the weekend, so at least we're back to 4. We'll make 1 additional. It's going to cost extra, but not as bad as the emergency. But with all those crashes, we also went through our front wings. We are down to just our final 2 front wings that we have that are both installed on the cars. So we're going to make 4 more for now. It'll take just 12 days for that one, so we don't need to rush this. But definitely having to spend some extra cash here late in the season, as we're seeing an increased amount of crashes from both drivers. It's not just Porsche, it's Albon who has been crashing just as much. Scouting complete for 2 more drivers, Iwasa and Schumacher. So Iwasa, 70 overall, pace isn't great. Potential's not standing out as anything that we need to get after. Schumacher is actually down to average. And, you know, I hate to say this about him. He hasn't done a whole lot this year, and his seat is in jeopardy. It looks like he's getting dropped from Ferrari. He's had 2 years, and he's not bad. It actually, his numbers are better than he's getting credit for against Magnussen this year in real life. As the season has gone on. He started slow, but he's finally shown, and he seems to do this from what I've seen as he went through F3, as he went through F2. First year, he's really off the pace. Second year is where he sees that growth and development that he would normally see in year 1. And then he climbs that ladder and gets out of his element again. It takes him longer to adapt than other drivers have. He's still only 23, and I think there is still fairly significant potential for Schumacher. But because of that, it takes him 2 years to do what others do in their first year. I think it's hurt his reputation a bit. And as a result, a lot of people aren't noticing the progress that he has made this year in real life, where he has done well compared to Magnussen. Some of that's been the car, though. Some of that has been circumstances and races. But he is doing more than people recognize, and as a result, his rating now in real life would be different than what his rating would have been at the beginning of the year. And I think his rating here in game is reflective of where he was at the beginning of the year, which is not so good and not showing a ton of potential. So that is what it is, and as a result, he's definitely out as a potential signing. Not only is he worse than Albon now, but his potential isn't any better than Albon's. Which brings us back to where we were. Ocon, Albon, doing. Now, the idea of going up to Ocon is good, but it's costly, and it's getting us outside of our driver, and there hasn't been much support in the comments for that. I think where we're at is most people want to see us stick with Albon and sign Doohan as the reserve driver, which was what I was planning on doing. I didn't bring it up before, but I was planning on bringing him in if I went with either Ocon or Albon. I wanted to settle the seat first. So it looks like the idea that seems to be the most popular, but not by a lot, is stick with Albon. He's a known quantity. He's a good benchmark for 2 or 3 years, while giving practice time to somebody like Doohan as your reserve driver to see him grow and develop and then take over in a couple of years from Albon once he's a bit more along the way. Now, the only thing I like about going young is, A, we're not that competitive now. You bring in that young driver and they're going to develop that much faster. And then in the couple years, when you get the competitive car, hey, you've got 2 young guys that have been developing like crazy and still have potential and will be much better than Albon ever will. I like that idea. But here's that thing. You still need to get points now. You still need to be competitive now as we grow and develop. So I get that too. So I think the general idea is let's go ahead and re-sign Albon, but not to a lengthy deal. So what was it we were trying to negotiate with him? We're going to have to go back and see. Is he even willing to? Because we kind of ticked him off last time. Okay, patience is back to very high. He is open to negotiation once again. So let's get in there and see what we can do with Alex Albon. Can we get him back? We're going to go back onto Car 2. We're going to cut it down to 3 seasons. Later on, we can always break it if we need. But that means we're going to obviously have to raise things up quite a bit. So we are going to give him more money by a good margin. Give him more lump sum bonus straight up. We have plenty of money for this lump sum right now. Increase that race target bonus as well. Bonus threshold all the way down to 16th is really harsh. He's going to collect that bonus fairly often, but it's not a huge bonus, so, it's okay. I think the biggest thing is increasing the salary to make that happen. You know what? Let's try 15th, see what happens, because I do not like that bonus being so easy to achieve. He's going to practically get it every race. Okay, contract declined for now. He's not happy with really anything except for the bonuses. So we don't need to increase those, but we do need to increase the salary for sure. And I guess we need to try the bonus threshold. All right, salary is finally in a good place that he's happy with. Still not happy with the bonus threshold, which is so weird because, come on, you're going to get a bonus like every single race already on 16th. Might as well just make it 20th and know that we're always going to pay him $600,000 every single race. That's, by the way, this is what he's working with. We're increasing his salary by quite a bit. Maybe push that lump sum up a bit more because that's a one-time thing. It's just a one-time thing. Medium on the patience now, so we are kind of running low. So bump the salary a little more. Definitely bump the lump sum bonus. I'm definitely not touching the cash on the race target. Not happy that that's pretty much a given now that he's going to have it almost every race. Maybe I have to go to 4 seasons just to get him signed. We can always break contract later for a cost. Contract accepted. Contract accepted. So 3-year deal, bonus threshold all the way at 17th. Which, even then he's not happy with that. That's so ridiculous. But increasing the salary and the lump sum bonus enough to push it through. $700,000 right now for that lump sum bonus. That's easy enough. Salary at 6.7 isn't up that much from where it was. We're talking $750,000 over the course of the year, more than what he was making this year. That's not huge. That race target bonus, that's going to cost us. That's going to cost us quite a bit because it's going from 10th all the way down to 17th. He's only collected it twice this year. He's going to collect it a lot next year. And there is that confirmation. Alex Albon with team 3 more years, or at least 2. Next thing is to get Doohan in as our reserve driver. Team Hub is done. We don't have any money to do any further upgrades at the moment. But you can see we're on the final one here in the operations facilities. Staff, there's that Team Hub. It's now up to level 4, so only 1 level remaining there. And I think that's the last of the team attractiveness category. So we're going to have near maximum team attractiveness. It's actually only $6.5 million to get that final one. It's also going to be a boost for morale to the staff. Weekly experience gain for staff would be maxed out. Team attractiveness, that last 5 points of it, not far from being maxed out on this one. No cash right now. I think we can still get it done before the end of the season, though, and that will leave us with just the weather center and scouting department of these 2 areas, leaving our focus next year on the car development facilities, of which we're already starting to make some gains there. That design center, just 5 days away. Simulator is just 8 days away from being done. So that's 2 of them right there. Entering the final 4 rounds of the championship. This is how said championship looks. Aston Martin hasn't really gotten anywhere near the points this season. Very, very early on. I think they had maybe a 15th place finish, and I'm not sure they've finished any higher than that. So Porsche are ahead of both of them comfortably. Our gap to them seems to be growing. They are well off the back. So we are very comfortably 9th place here heading into these final 4 races. We're getting more competitive when it comes to Haas, AlphaTauri, and the McLaren. Not really anybody else, though Alfa Romeo had a really bad race last weekend. But when it comes to, those guys, we're slowly closing the gap on them. So next season is what I'm targeting. That this season, we're just continuing to make slow gains and really going to focus in on next year as a big car development kind of year. But expectation-wise, well, I don't think we're going up at all in these last 4 races. Maybe we score points again, but not enough to catch Haas, not 12 points behind them. They're not scoring much. They're scoring a little. Next season, I expect to be competitive with Haas. Maybe not initially, but as the season goes on. So I do think next season, we'll be looking to score a lot more points than we've gotten this year, 15 to 20 kind of thing, and take some of those points away from Haas to hopefully have them be 9th and us be 8th, and then be more consistently competitive with the AlphaTauris, McLarens, Alfa Romeos in the next season. But it's not going to be an automatic thing. It is going to take time. Yes, we're going to start focusing in on it next year, but we need those facility upgrades in that department. We're inching our way into that, but it's one step at a time. And I think those finances will be better, but it's not going to be instant either. So it's going to take some time. Expectations are still low for a little while, but I do think we're going to score more points for sure next year.
Welcome to the United States Grand Prix. We're in Austin, but there are no wild cowboys on the track this weekend, just some serious horsepower. It's sure to be a race to remember. The Circuit of the Americas has it all. Twists and turns, steep climbs, fast corners, and a power-hungry Sector 2. Quite a headache to balance, even if teams will be looking at maximising downforce overall. With the season nearly concluded, time is running out for the teams. Can anyone make a last-minute breakthrough? Can the leading drivers hold on? Only time will tell. Stay right here, because we're just getting started.
I'll try to get this point in quickly and be brief on it, so maybe I missed some detail, but understand that there's a lot more to these stories. But Monza, in real life, the race finishing under the safety car, a lot of people were booing, especially when their favorite red car could not compete with the blue car ahead of them to end the race. Saw people booing at your race winner. 2 weeks earlier, was it? A lot of fans in orange were doing things in the stands, in the grandstands, that are frowned upon by others. Their treatment towards women, throwing flares onto the track, flares in general, especially last year, the way where they were flooding the track to where drivers couldn't even see. Poor behavior by fans has been a thing. Now, my point here is that I don't think a few fans booing over what happened in terms of the safety car means that it was directed at Verstappen. I don't think that all Italians are bad because a few people were booing. more than a few, really. I don't think that all Dutch fans or all Dutch people are bad because a few fans have bad behavior. I also don't think all Americans are bad because one group feels this way or that politically, or I don't think that point here being that all Americans are cowboys, as 6, 7, 8 years ago in the early days of the Circuit of the Americas track and the U.S. Grand Prix being a part of the F1 calendar, as a lot of people were suggesting that all Americans are cowboys. No, not the case at all. Nor is Miami very representative of the rest of the United States either. They are unique areas of the country, and we are such a diverse country with very, very different people. Nor are white people representative of all of America either. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to the race weekend. With only one straight and the uphill, which I think that should have a bigger impact than it seems to be having representative here, we're looking at high speed and low speed corners being really important here. Of course, we are better at high speed, but we're not good at low speed. So I think we could do okay. We could be well ahead of Aston Martin, and maybe we can compete with the likes of Haas, but I would venture to say that we are probably facing another difficult weekend where we're just well clear of Aston Martin, but barely competing with others. We'll see if that's the case. There's a good chance that we're going to be taking penalties for Albon for exactly this. I did not anticipate that this was coming, but we have a minor gearbox wear warning because, yes, we're probably going to be taking penalties starting from the back of the grid with Albon, as he's not going to make it the last 4 races with our current setup. And I know we have some leftover parts that might be able to be used for a race, maybe 2, but I don't think they're going to make it 4 races. So I do think we are going to take penalties one more time, putting fresh in everything for Albon to get him to the end of the season. Cher, meanwhile, might be able to make things last, but he's really only about 1 race off on those calculations, and so there's a good chance with 3 races to go that Cher might not be able to squeeze his way through the end of the season either, and next race weekend will himself have to take some penalties, or maybe we do it here for both of them, and we'll just try to beat the Aston Martins. We'll see where we're at race pace wise, but right now we are a bit slow, and the Aston Martins actually appear to not be that far off. Verstappen is not in position yet, as he's only put in 1 lap, and banker lap. He'll be much faster on this next one. Ricardo, not that far ahead of us, but maybe that's not really where he's at just yet. He'll be moving up here fairly soon. Tsunoda might be our first real mark that we're looking at, which we're 3/4 of a second behind. Here's my takeaways from FP1. A, we're slow. Aston Martin way faster than they are on other tracks because of the slow speed corners and the lack of straight line pace necessary here. Tire wear is really high here, so we are going to need a 2-stopper for sure in the race, and so we will see strategies play out reflective of that. Wow. 8 cars carrying penalties, including most of the front of the field. Would be a really good day not to take a penalty. So Cher, definitely not going to take a penalty. Albon, we're not going to have a choice though. A lot of cars coming out on track, but it looks like we will get a clean first run here. Albon, full penalties. He'll be back of the grid, but Cher, no penalties for him. So with 9 cars taking on penalties in this race, Cher should have a pretty good start position, though we are so far off the pace that we easily will be at the back of the grid here. Maybe, when you really push, maybe we can beat somebody. But Albon's not even going to run another lap. But Cher is. We want to get Cher ready to go. And no triple laps for him, just a double. We're not going to have great pace here, but we will get one more before the end of the session. P19 for now. And here we go. One of the Haas cars going right at the beginning, so that's good for us. They will not get the benefit of a faster track couple cars coming out right on top of each other. And I think just about the last of the cars are moving, so we will get Porsche out here in a few seconds. Not last. Not last. We've got an Alfa Romeo. But that does mean we will not have any issues as Perez spins on his outlap. We've actually got, 3 cars behind us, and Perez right to the back there after his spin. Well, we've got just about enough clean air. We're definitely towards the back end. But again, expectations are low, so let's just speed things up, and we'll see where we end up. Right now, it's P19. Can we at least stay ahead of Stroll? Can we compete with Schumacher? Can we beat Albon's time? Stroll finishes. He goes ahead of us. He improves by 1/10 of a second. He was early on, so this could be good for us, and we're holding up the Alfa Romeo behind us. Green in Sector 2 as well. As long as we continue to get clean air all the way to the finish line, we should be okay. We should see our time improve, hopefully by more than that 1/10 of a second that we need, hopefully by 2 or 3 tenths. Vettel improves his time. Porsche improves, but not by enough. He did not have a good third sector, and he will start from, I would presume, somewhere around P12 to 15, as he qualifies only 20th. Albon qualifies 18th, but again, with all those penalties, that grid spot will be very different from this. I don't know if he's going all the way ahead of those guys. I don't think 9 drivers to the straight back. I think it's going to be less than that. I think some of them are going to have smaller grid penalties, and from 20th, he's not going to move up that much. But 13th, 14th, 15th. Top 15 would be nice. Otherwise, we're in for a long race.
It's race day with the teams and drivers ready and raring to go.
Williams had a good performance in qualifying. Now they'll be eager to demonstrate that they can have an even better race. Haas met their potential in qualifying, and they'll be expected to make a good start from the grid. Let's see if they can make it work for them. And the sun is shining bright here today. This is perfect weather for teams and drivers alike to show us what they're capable of.
No doubt, there's a lot to contend with here at the United States Grand Prix. It's going to be a thrilling outcome to a thrilling weekend.
Neither setup was good as we were getting to the end of FP3, entering qualifying. And I went ahead and made the bold decision to change the car setup one more time, tweak it one more time, and it paid off because I ended up getting both cars at 96%. Race strategy, it's a definite 2-stopper. There's no way to make a 1-stopper work here. Even if you went hard to hard, it would be really difficult to make a 1-stopper work, and obviously you can't go hard to hard as you have to use 2 different compounds. That being said, hard, medium, medium is the only logical way to go because a soft, medium, hard combination still doesn't get you to the end of the race. The softs just do not last here, and it's really hard to push even on a 2-stopper. This isn't that far off from being a 3-stop type race. We're going to go opposite on the strategies though, with Porsche a little higher up the grid. Not by far though. I was hoping for a top 15. It's only 16th for his starting spot. We're going to save 1 lap worth of fuel for Porsche. We're going to save 3 laps worth of fuel for Albon, trying to go long. He's going to start on that hard. He's going to stay out there a bit longer and hope to gain track position as others pit. Hopefully he's not so far off the pace through that first stint that they all come out ahead of him. Obviously the front runners will, but hopefully some of the back markers can get there, and maybe, just maybe, we can hold some of them up if they pit a bit earlier than Porsche.
As the sun continues to shine, it seems like nothing can dampen the mood of excitement here at the track. Looking now at the Williams. Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. And then we've got Alex Albon. They're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. Will their hard work pay off today? Sit tight and get ready. It's the United States Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Leclerc starts from pole with the 2 Mercedes behind him, and then the 2 Alfa Romeos. The 2 Red Bulls way down at P7 and P9 to start on this one, as I believe both had minor grid penalties. And you can see Pourchaire is holding that P16, but it is Sainz who is just behind us. You know he will come through soon enough. And it's the two Aston Martins just ahead of us. So Pourchaire's race is absolutely with those guys today. We'll see if we can put them under pressure here and maybe get past Stroll on this opening lap. If not, we will settle in pretty quickly, especially waiting for DRS. But we'll give it a shot at least through coming up here. If we can beat him on braking, we might have him. We might have him here. It is a corner to the left, tight corner. And if we can get the traction coming out, which is not Pourchaire's strength, but with the ERS, it's enough of a push. I think we're going to complete the pass, and we do. Yes, okay, onto neutral.
It's a good job.
Onto balanced. Okay, we got one Aston Martin out of the way. We'll wait for DRS to try to get the other. Too aggressive, which we're going to need continually running for a long time yet. Albon, though, Albon's going to need to back off almost right away. Oh, and Stroll spins out. It would have been nice if it was Vettel, because then we would have been ahead of both. We'd already passed him. We'd already made the hard work, but that puts Stroll down to last, and Albon is well positioned, so let's go ahead and go down to standard for him, and we will run at whatever pace we have,
To drop back.
focusing on Pourchaire for the next while.
Yep, copy.
DRS enabled.
DRS enabled, but here comes the Ferrari to the inside. We are going to have to go wide here on the final turn, and he will complete the move. No DRS this lap, so that's down to P16 for Pourchaire, but we knew he was going to come through.
Ferrari.
Now the only thing is not losing his wheel while he makes work of Vettel, and if we're lucky, we can maybe follow him through. Vettel dropped 2 positions at once. Unlikely, but Stroll off the back, by the way, so he will not have DRS. Sainz is already closed up on Vettel. He's in tight. And Pourchaire struggling to stay within a second. Did not have DRS, looks like. Even though we were within a second, I thought, as we went through the detection zone. But we fell well off there, so we are going to have to chase Vettel down on merit with Pourchaire, whose pace doesn't quite match Albon's. We'll keep an eye on the gap from Albon to Stroll. Our faster driver versus their slowest driver. As Magnussen goes by. So already going backwards for Pourchaire. Hence I didn't mind taking the penalty today. But Pourchaire, just no reason for him to. He might get through the rest of the season without taking any penalties. Hamilton leads this race, and he has a front train of 5 cars, I believe it is. Yes, front train of 5 with Verstappen already making some significant progress in that first lap or two. Pourchaire
with an overtake there.
And Magnussen switching back and forth positionally, but Pourchaire then tucks in and loses DRS. I'm not sure if he's going to get that back anytime soon. That's not good. Tsunoda and Albon just behind. And the gap to Stroll is increasing. So Stroll now 5 seconds behind. So we are driving away from him. However, what about Vettel? What about Vettel? Will Pourchaire be able to close him up? Our slower of the two, they're faster of the two. We might be able to beat Stroll, but I'm not sure we're going to beat Vettel. And at the moment, we don't appear to be, as Pourchaire is now 2 seconds behind instead of 1.5. So that the swap back and forth with Magnussen did not turn out well for us, and is potentially costing us this race as we are slowly falling back. Tsunoda. Can Tsunoda drag us forward, as Tsunoda has gone past Pourchaire now? So now we've got Albon now battling back and forth there. That's not doing us any good.
And a new position just gained by Williams.
Well, at least swapping positions is good experience gain. Sainz running wide. He's fallen back again. He's P11. And pit stop's already starting. So somebody opted for the softs, and it was Hamilton who led this race. Russell, Perez, Sainz, Magnussen, and Tsunoda all on the softs. Everybody's doing the two-stopper, but those guys stopping very early. The others on the soft compound are all stopping and coming out behind us, where Russell and Hamilton came out ahead and actually are in between Pourchaire and Vettel. Vettel has really driven away from us. So Albon finally gets past Pourchaire, but now they're battling back and forth with each other. It's the first time in a very, very long time that we've had these two actually in direct ability to swap positions. In fact, we've never had it with Pourchaire. It was way, way back in the Latifi era, where they swapped back and forth a bunch after we had a mistake from Albon, who had run wide that backed him up to where Latifi was, and the two kept swapping positions. I was told don't make them fight, but the good thing about them fighting is they are at least gaining XP. We are at least outpacing Stroll significantly, but Vettel is more than 6 seconds ahead. So already starting their second lap on the medium second run on the medium compound. It's going to make that hard compound. They're going to have to really stretch that. I wonder if we're going to see any 3 stoppers today for teams that just could not make it as long as they needed to on their existing compounds. I mean, Pourchaire driving aggressively at 44% right now, and we're looking at half the field, more than half the field now pitting. In fact, both drivers into the top 10 for the time being. We have Leclerc, Norris, Ocon, Schumacher have yet to pit. Albon, the only one who started on the hard compound. Oh, big spin from Albon there. We saw it right behind Pourchaire, and it's going to take him a little bit to get going again. He's on the hards, and he still hasn't. Did he stall it, or is he literally waiting that long to get things going? There we go. He's off and moving again, but he is all the way down to P18 from P8. He's lost 10 positions. 10 positions. That is not good. He's not even pushing at all. I mean, he's driving just cruise mode on the hard compound. Zero reason for him to spin out under that situation. Pourchaire is pushing like crazy and not spinning out. Albon making rookie mistakes more than the rookie makes. There is Albon. That's how much time Albon just lost. That's how much time. These two were neck and neck. He lost that much time. He just lost a pit stop. We are ahead of Tsunoda. So there's that. Stroll is well behind us. So initially, we were looking at Pourchaire as the lead driver, as he was going to be higher up the grid. And then Albon caught up, and Albon passed him on the hard compound. So Albon was showing that his pace is just better than Pourchaire's, but then spinning out and losing an entire pit stop worth, because here he is right behind. No, just in front of Pourchaire, sorry. He's 1 second better than he would have been if he had pit. That's how much time he lost spinning out there. And now he still has 2 pit stops to go. Pourchaire just won. Yellow flag, sector 1, as somebody, front runner, has made some sort of mistake there. Current race situation here on lap 21. Verstappen leads from Bottas, Russell, Leclerc, and Hamilton. So Bottas has put himself into a very strong position in this race. Perez, Ocon, Ricciardo, Norris, and Alonso round out those in the points. Norris has opted for the hard medium, as has Schumacher, and it looks like Stroll as well. Albon entering his pit window, still has 45%, will go as long as he can. He has been caught by Pourchaire, so we probably want to tell him, don't fight your teammate. Oh, he's already passed him. I missed that one, but Pourchaire has gone around Albon, so Albon is down to P18, Pourchaire P17 now. This could give Pourchaire what we need, and that is Albon holding up Tsunoda long enough to get Pourchaire a bit further. And Tsunoda, I'm worried about Tsunoda. He's at 61% on the medium compound. He's going to be pitting much, much sooner than Pourchaire. Oh, no! You saw that, right? You saw that. Pourchaire has been absolutely wiped out by Tsunoda, who broke way too late, trying to do something on Albon, trying to make a move, force a move on Albon, try to get up beside him. And let's go ahead and see the replay of this one. But this is entirely Tsunoda's fault. He tries to go to the inside and then just completely outbreaks himself, locks up, and slams into Pourchaire. So now both of our drivers' races are compromised, meaning the rest of this race is probably going to go by pretty quickly, as Tsunoda and the Aston Martins were literally the only ones that we were racing anyway. And now our top driver is retired from the race. So Pourchaire is out completely. Maybe it's time to pit Albon.
Thank goodness nobody else was involved. That was a big crash.
We are almost in his pit window. I would assume this is going to be either a safety car or a virtual safety car to retrieve him. We could use that. Quite onto the back yet, but he'll make it, it looks like, just in time. We are to the back of the grid, so Stroll is now ahead of us. 2 cars out of the race. Tsunoda, who will have a penalty for his next race, it looks like, is P20 or share P19 guaranteed. And we are already to the inside of Stroll. Can we get a good run on him? Oh, we tuck back in. We tuck in. That wasn't good.
Let's close this gap.
Push. Use the overtake. See if you can't beat the Aston Martins here in the next couple of laps. Stroll on hards, 80%. He will have to pit again, so he's not done. But we definitely want to get ahead of him, as he'll be faster on his next stint. Vettel at 65%, so he'll pit much sooner than we will. But that'll be his second time as well, so he'll have to make a long run from there. Meanwhile, we will have an advantage over Vettel later. But can we put Stroll under pressure here to complete an overtake? This is where we completed the overtake last time at the beginning of the race. And we do have a look to the inside. We do have him to the inside. Can we complete the overtake? It looks like we will. So we've got Stroll. We've got Stroll. Yes, position gained.
Good job.
Well done. Well done there. Alonso pits. 2 laps. 2 laps after the safety car ends, he pits. That's why we pit under the safety car. Look how far Alonso is behind. Albon has overtaken Vettel, and Vettel pits. Vettel pits. So that is Albon up to P9, but we still have one more stop to go. And we've got plenty of fast cars right behind us. Schumacher somehow behind us. I'm not sure how we would have gotten past him.
Just had a spin.
And the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin has wiped us out.
Sorry, guys.
And that is the rear end of the car destroyed. That is both cars retired. Vettel has taken us out. He is out of the race as well. He probably will have a brand new gearbox too. Gearbox is destroyed. Similar to what we saw in the other crash. Under the safety car, it is now Norris who stayed out, who leads over Verstappen.
Yeah, P0, P0.
Schumacher, Stroll, who stayed out, running P3 and P4. With 24 laps to go. Those 4, though, I think may have to pit one more time. Probably, anyway. Everybody else should be good to go to the end of the race. Race situation here on lap 40. We're going to go very quickly to the end since both cars are out. But Verstappen, Ocon only held him up for a single lap. So Verstappen got clear quite quickly. Took about 5 laps till Russell got past. In which time Verstappen opened up a huge gap over those 4 laps. Leclerc got by less than a lap later, but Verstappen makes a huge mistake there. That is who we were riding with. He still has a significant lead, very quickly getting back on there. So he loses maybe a second is all. Schumacher is now fourth, who has also gotten around Norris, though those two are battling back and forth. And we are looking at Stroll all the way down to last place. I think he must have had a lockup there at some point to fall back so quickly, because on the restart he was like fourth place or something. And he's definitely going to pit. Schumacher pits now. Ocon will pit. Stroll's going to finish last of the runners, it looks like, but that's only going to put him at P16. Magnussen will come out behind him. Magnussen has also pit. Magnussen's probably going to be faster than Stroll, you would think, but that does mean we will be last place as a team today because of our double DNF with Stroll, even if it's only by a position, finishing ahead of us, but at least he will not be picking up any points. Lap 48, we have a safety car, and it has already picked up the front of the track. Perez is out of this race. I don't know yet what has happened. I got a replay of Sainz running wide, but here is the Perez crash. So Perez locks up and into the wall.
There's the crash.
So that is it for his race. That does mean Stroll's going to move up one more spot, but it's definitely not going to put him in the points. Safety car ends this lap, so that was a quick one. I got Perez cleaned up awfully fast. So race will resume with 7 laps to go, and the field is bunched up once again. Mediums are going to have a little advantage. That's really just Norris, though, that's going to benefit from that, as the two Haas's and Stroll are going to be a bit too slow to make any use of that. Ocon, Guan Yu Zhou could be a danger to Norris, but otherwise you're looking at the front of the field. Alonso a bit deep onto those tires already with 6 laps to go, but I think they'll make it just fine.
Let's have a look.
Guan Yu Zhou out of the race, and we have yet another, a 6th car out of this race. A fourth, same spot. Lock up, car wiped out.
That's going to be a big
Their race is done.
Team. Will they be able to
anyway, if you have completed your first season on here, let me know, what is the off season like? Do we run through that whole calendar? Do we have development through that whole calendar? Contract negotiations? What happens in between? Are we going to have a preseason period? Give me a heads up on what is coming so I can kind of prepare for that, both in terms of my strategy, but also kind of what I'm planning on doing. Is there enough going on there for a whole episode dedicated to an off-season? More than one episode? I would think one would be enough, but yeah, I'd like to know what's going on. So if you have concluded your first season, do clue me in a little bit to what's up for that. We don't have to give away all the details, but just give me an idea. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get through this safety car period and see where we're at now with just 14 cars running. Stroll all the way up to P13, but that is not going to be enough. Might push him above Porsche in the standings. Safety car is in. No, safety car ends this lap. I don't see the safety car out there. Yeah, there you go. We are back to full running here. Nobody pit that time either. Alonso down to 38%, but 3 laps to go. That extra safety car has made all of the tires okay to the end. But it's Verstappen from Russell, Leclerc, and Sainz. Last lap begins. Russell well off pace of Verstappen in this one. Challenge from the Ferraris here on Russell. They do have DRS on him, but down the back straight, they are not going to contend. And they're not going to lock up and wipe out 2 more cars. Number of cars into the 30 percentile, but they will be okay. Again, because of those 2 safety car periods, really taking care of whatever you needed. That's going to do it for this race and this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. We're celebrating. I don't know why. Bye for now.